So before I decided to play this game against the Nets, I looked at 2K's atrocious playbook and quickly came to a decision that we would not be using that one because it's, awful. If you've ever looked at it, then you know. There are a million plays that never work, so I borrowed a few from the Timberwolves MyGM, as well as finding a few that might suit our personnel better. This is not the final playbook, just something to have that's better than the default one. One thing I did not know going into this game is that the Nets are #1 in the preseason power rankings, which I guess makes me feel a little better about what they are probably going to do to us. I think we're around 15 or so, which I think is a bit low, but whatever. On to the game. And we're just going to jump right in. The first quarter brought a few things to my attention right away. Kyrie is an absolute killer, and he will not be stopped no matter who is guarding him. Same for KD, but believe it or not, to a lesser extent for this game at least. I don't know if it's because we had Ben on him, that's probably why, or what, but Kyrie is just ruthless and does not care about your feelings. He hurt mine a lot throughout the game. Another thing is that our paint defense as well as rebounding is trash. Jarrett Allen asserted his manhood on Marvin Bagley and especially Kelly Olynyk later on. He got better positioning than him the entire time to get offensive rebounds and scored all day long on backdoor cuts or, obviously off of the offensive rebounds. But that's a whole other story for later in the game. Meanwhile, KD and Kyrie were busy doing their thing and we just could not hit a shot. Granted, some of them were poor shot selection by me, and I'll figure it out, but that's not the sole reason. The reason that we didn't completely tank in the first quarter was our guy Ben Simmons. He may not be able to hit a shot outside of 3 feet, but man, can he score inside. He was beating guys off the dribble and posting up guys, scoring that way, all while guarding KD on the other end. And his transition offense is just insane, whether he's running the floor or whether he's bringing the ball up the court, anything like that. He's just amazing. He's also able to get contests on guys while closing out, even if he's a little farther away because of his wingspan. He forced plenty of misses that way on the game. Kyrie would get the ball out on the 3-point line, and then he'd be halfway there and contesting Kyrie's shot. But despite all that Ben did, we could not get an offense going. Brooklyn was playing good defense on us, I guess, and even when we did get open looks, our guys just weren't hitting. By the end of the first, we were down 25-29, and Simmons had 16 of our 25 points. The second quarter is honestly more of the same. I won't even spend that much time on it. One thing that became blatantly obvious in terms of 2K is that the stamina is way too low right now. After this game, I turned up those sliders, so hopefully that helps for the next one. Ben had the Gatorade symbol after 1 quarter. If you're an NBA athlete, you're telling me you cannot play 10, 12 minutes before you're completely gassed? Come on. So I had to pay attention to that because injuries are on. So I don't want some injury to happen because the stamina is too low. So I think I bumped it up to 65, and we'll see how that is. If it's too high, I'll lower it again, but I don't want this again. 2K19 was a step down, and then 2K, whatever. It's too low. There's not a whole lot to say about this quarter anyway. Brooklyn started to pull away. We had 31 at the 7.5 minute mark, and then didn't score again for 3 minutes about. So yeah, we're down 10 at the half. The third quarter was a continuation of the second, but worse. Here is where I get to talk about Olynyk. He only got 1 or 2 open shots, and nobody was hitting this game, but he is too slow to guard anyone at all. Ever. Even when he was 5 feet from the paint, he couldn't get over in time to contest somebody driving in the lane. Or there would be a miss and Jarrett Allen or DeAndre Jordan would go around behind him for the offensive rebound and score. He is insanely slow, man. And then Marvin Bagley isn't a good defender either. So I have a feeling against elite big men we are going to get absolutely roasted, unless Marvin Bagley somehow becomes a decent defender. In this specific matchup, when Simmons was on KD and Conley was out, we had to kind of guard Kyrie with weird matchups. Tobias was on him for a while, which was terrible. Tobias is a whole nother thing, man. Tobias made me upset this game. Kyrie abused this matchup. Kyrie was also abusing everyone else, so I guess it's whatever. But if Tobias is going to be a null on offense and a negative on defense, we might have to give up picks to offload his contract, 1, maybe 2 firsts, depending on, who it is. I was already leaning towards this, that we might need to move on from him. but it's just awful. He's not good at anything. He was like 4 for 14 on the game, I think. But aside from that, we also gave up a ton of buckets in transition, and our bigs had DeAndre Jordan look like Lob City DeAndre Jordan when he was in. Our interior defense needs some serious work if we want to compete against the elite slashers and bigs in the league. What do you think we're going to do against LeBron? I mean, obviously Ben is going to be on LeBron James, but who's guarding AD? Anybody? I mean, come on. From all this, you might think that we kept it competitive and they were just the better team, but at the end of the third, we were down 24 points. And the frustration was mounting for me, I'll be honest with you. The fourth quarter didn't last long. I tried to fight back with all our offensive guys in. I think I had Ben, Buddy, probably Tobias, and Harrison Barnes, I think, who had like 4 or 5 fouls. And then, what's his face, Marvin Bagley. But still, I mean, we would score, and then we just couldn't guard anybody on the other end. In transition, our dudes are so slow, dude. Our guys are so slow. We need to do something, man. So after several frustration turnovers and transition buckets by Brooklyn, I decided that's wraps, and I no longer wish to be disrespected by Kyrie anymore. So Simcast became my friend again, and we end up losing the game 109-95. So not the best way that we could have ended, but after my frustration died down, I realized that this is a completely new group of players. 3 out of our 5 starters are new to the team, and most, if not all, of our bench players are also new to the team. We took a brand new group of guys out there and played one of the best teams in the league, so I understand that we struggled heavily. We won't be facing one of the most elite offensive duos in the league every game, and not every point guard is Kyrie Irving, but despite that, we still have to get our interior defense better. Whether that becomes, from a trade for a defensive-oriented big man, or maybe a pickup in free agency, or just from Marvin Bagley developing, hopefully. I do think we can get to maybe serviceable, hopefully. There's no excuse to let Jarrett Allen and old DeAndre Jordan look like all-stars. I mean, there's just no excuse for that. But in some positive news, Ben Simmons showed no signs of struggle, getting 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists on 71% shooting. Bagley had a quiet 16 and 10. Outside of those two, it was kind of ugly. I mean, Buddy Hield was 6 for 13, but, whatever. The rest of the team, including Buddy, was 15 of 56 from the field, which is 26%. We can't have Ben Simmons on an island if we want to win games. And then, taking a look at the Nets box score, you realize what I was talking about. Kyrie had 37. Yes, it was on 37 shots, but he still scored 37. Then Jarrett Allen and DeAndre Jordan combined for 35 points and 26 rebounds on very good efficiency. Obviously, they're big men. Ben held KD to 15 points on 16 shots, though. So, all in all, things could have been much worse, I guess. I mean, I don't know what is worse than blown out on your opening game, but Ben held KD to 15 points on 16 shots. So, that's very promising. And he had 31 on the other end. So, I think we just need some work on our interior defense and figuring out how to work things on offense. And once we get those things figured out, we could be a serious contender in the East.